Year 2. This is Tuesday's science lesson, and today we're going to be learning all about animals, living things, and what they need to survive. So the different things they have to get from their environment, from their habitat, so that they can stay alive. Now, to warm up and get us started, we're going to watch a short video about this very topic. Hopefully the sound works. If you can't hear the sound on the video, the link will be in the homework tab as well. So have a look at that.
Animals need air, water, shelter, and food to survive. Our lungs bring in oxygen and remove carbon dioxide, but other animals breathe in all sorts of different ways. Fish use gills to get their oxygen, like sharks. Animals like worms breathe right through their skin. All animals need to drink water to stay alive. It breaks down their food and helps their brains work properly. Fish absorb water through their skin. Elephants suck the water into their trunks, then pour it into their mouths. Some animals hunt for their food. Some animals, like pets, are provided with food. Some animals graze for their food. Some animals gather their food. And some animals, like vultures, scavenge for their food. Some animals find shelter within their own shells. And some animals live in shelter underground. These are called burrows. If animals, including us humans, don't have one or all of these things, they will die.
All right, so that was a brief introduction to what living things need to survive. Once again, there are 4 things there: shelter, food, water, and air. Let's have a look now at our next bit. So let's put that into practice, shall we? So these are the basic needs of all living things. Shelter, for humans and most animals, shelter is very important. It keeps us safe from predators. It gives us a place to rest and have young. That means have babies, and protects us from getting too wet, too hot, or too cold. Now, as people, remember, we are animals too. Humans have artificial shelters. We call them homes, houses, flats. Wherever it is you live, this will keep you warm. It should keep you dry, and it keeps you safe. Now, obviously, not all animals live in houses. We have lots of different habitats that we've learnt about before. It could be a tree, it could be a nest. If it's a pet animal like this rabbit here, it could be a hutch, or it could be a cave. You think about natural habitats and natural shelters. So shelter is our first basic need. Food is the next one. All animals need to eat food to stay alive. Now, as we know, there are 3 types of animal when we think about food. We've got our carnivores, like sharks, lions, cats, crocodiles, owls. They eat other animals. In that video, we saw vultures as well, which is an example of an animal that's a carnivore. It doesn't hunt, though. It only eats animals that are already dead. That's called scavenging. So we've got carnivores that eat other animals. We've got herbivores that eat plants. These are animals like rabbits, elephants, turtles, toucans, cows. They eat plants. They're herbivores. And finally, we have got omnivores. Now, they can eat a mixture of meat and plants. They eat a bit of both. We've got bears and ducks and pigs, and of course humans. We are omnivores too. Our third basic need was air. All living things have to breathe somehow, but they can do it in different ways. So mammals, like bats or us, humans, reptiles, birds, we breathe air in through our nose or our mouth, and it goes down into our lungs. Now, in fact, on this picture here of this person, you can see the lungs inside you. If you're not sure, your lungs are sort of inside your chest, and they fill up with air when you take in a deep breath. Now, not all animals have lungs. We have fish and other sea creatures might breathe underwater through special organs called gills. You can see a picture on this shark here. They're slits often on the neck, and some animals can even breathe through their skin. So we've had shelter, food, air. The last thing that all living things need to stay alive is water. Now, they can drink water like we do through our mouths and down our throats, or some animals can drink again through their skin. They absorb the water. We heard about the shark in the video that was doing that. So animals in nature have a habitat. As we know, this habitat should provide shelter, food, water, and air. So example, the squirrel lives in a hole in an oak tree. That gives it shelter. It means if an owl comes that wants to eat the squirrel, it can hide in the hole in the oak tree. It keeps it safe. It eats the acorns from the oak tree, so it's getting food from its habitat. It drinks water from ponds and puddles, so when it rains, that's how it's getting its water. The squirrel takes care of itself because the habitat provides everything that it needs. The final thing, and perhaps the thing we take for granted the most, is air. That squirrel, because it's got fur and warm blood, is a mammal, which means it has lungs like we do. It breathes in the air into its lungs. So, little quiz now, true or false questions. If you want to pause the video each time and have a little think about whether it's true or false, you can, and I'm going to tell you the answer after each question. So, true or false? Creatures that live underwater don't need to breathe. What do you think? So that is false. Fish and most other sea creatures breathe underwater through special organs called gills. We can see those on that shark there. Mammals like dolphins and killer whales, they are like us. They need to breathe air, and they have special nostrils called blowholes on the backs of their bodies. They come up to the surface to breathe in air, just like we do when we swim underwater. So all these things need air in different ways. Next one, water is the best drink for humans and for other animals. What do you think? Is water the best drink? Yes, it is. It's true. Humans have lots of drinks to choose from, but nothing is as good for our bodies or for animal bodies as fresh, clean water. Well done if you got that right. Next one, is this true or false? Humans are herbivores. They only eat plants. What do you think? True or false? That is false. Humans eat animals and plants. They are omnivores. Now, some people like vegetarians or vegans don't eat meat. That's a choice, but they're still omnivores because they can eat both. So humans are omnivores. Even if they don't eat meat, they can. Oh, true or false? Fish never drink. What do we think? True or false? That is false. Some fish drink water, some fish get water from their food, and some fish can absorb the water through their skin. So all living things need to get water in some way, and that includes fish that live in water. And last one, some creatures that live in the sea breathe air. Well, I've given the game away. I've talked about this already. Have a look at these pictures. Which one of these animals would need to go up to the surface to take a deep breath of air? So marine mammals like dolphins and whales and marine reptiles like sea turtles have to come up to the surface of the water to take a deep breath of air, just like we do. They just might do it in a slightly different way. So once again, those four basic needs: shelter, food, water, air. Every living thing needs those, has those requirements. It needs to find those four things. All right, last but not least, we're going to have a quick look at your independent activity. Let's see what you need to do in science today. So, the basic needs of all living things. We're going to go through some examples. And there's an example at the top to show you the sort of thing you might do. So, first column here, we've got classification. We've got mammals, birds, reptiles, fish, amphibians, and invertebrates. You need to think of an example for each of those. If you're not sure, I'll go through it in a second. So let's look at our example up at the top. We've got my example of a mammal is a human, us. We are mammals. So you're right, the name of the animal in that box. If you want to squeeze in the picture, you can, but you don't have to. I haven't. And then you've got those four basic needs. You need to write just a few notes or a sentence or two about how does that animal meet these needs. How does it find shelter? How does it find food? How does it find air? How does it get water? So my example for humans, I've written, most humans live in artificial homes. In the UK, these are mostly houses or flats. People use lots of different materials, such bricks, wood, or metal to build their homes. Now, of course, if you're doing a type of bird, it might make a nest. If it's an amphibian, like a frog or a toad, it might live near a pond, and that's its shelter. An invertebrate. Now, remember, an invertebrate is an animal without a backbone, like an insect or a worm. They might live in a hive if you're a bee, or an ant colony. Worms live underground. So think about how that animal finds shelter. The next box is food. So how does the animal find food? Well, we're very special in the animal kingdom because modern humans get most of their food from farms. And in fact, I get my food from the shop. Now, obviously, we're quite special there. So the animals you think of won't be going to the shop, will they, to find food? If you have, for example, in your reptile category, if you have a crocodile, well, how does it find food? Well, it ambushes its prey in a lake or a river and eats meat. It's a carnivore. That sort of special vocabulary will be really helpful. Similarly, if you're doing a shark, there's another carnivore, a type of fish that eats meat. Of course, not all animals are carnivores. Plenty of them are herbivores. If you have like an elephant in your mammal category, for example, or a horse or a cow, you might think about how does it find the food? Does it graze grass? Is it like a giraffe reaching up to those tall trees? Now, for air, essentially what you need to think, does this animal have lungs? Mammals have lungs. Birds have lungs. Reptiles have lungs. Fish do not have lungs. Fish, amphibians, and invertebrates breathe in different ways, sometimes through their skin, sometimes through gills. So have a think about how the three animals you choose here might breathe. And then finally, how do they find water? Now, of course, this will be different from animal to animal. For us, for people, we drink our water, and it might come from a river or a well, or for most of us now in the UK, from a tap. Of course, that's not true for most animals. So if you're a mammal, if you've got something like an elephant, maybe it drinks from a river or a lake. We had our squirrel earlier that would drink from rainwater. If you think about an animal that lives in the water, like a dolphin, it will get its water from its food. So different animals are going to find water in different ways. The other thing you might want to include here are examples of pets. If you think lots of people have a pet bird, well, they get their water, like us, from the tap. So have a think about the different ways different animals can find these basic needs. Now, I've written proper sentences here. You might not have space for that. You might just have to write a word or two, just some ideas. It depends how big your handwriting is. So try and keep it small. Try and keep it neat. As always, when you have finished your science, please send it to your teacher on eSchools. Right, we'll leave it there, and I look forward to seeing your learning. Bye.